we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, coming you live from Las Vegas. And as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good. I think Las Vegas, we forgot to put up the browser screen.
The browser screen?
Yeah, I don't see
Oh,
it.
sorry. Okay, yeah, right. The sharing the screen.
So you're in Las Vegas. Why?
Yeah, I'm testing out the new Audi GT RS.
Oh,
The
lucky.
updated the 2025. It's like a mid cycle update, so it's nothing too new. I can talk about it a little bit. I just cannot talk about the driver impressions until next week. There's a little bit of an embargo on that, but yeah, I mean it's a very nice update. It's sometimes the mid cycles update focus more on the design and such, but it's different for the GT. It's the contrary. Like they updated a lot of the spec, capacity, features of the vehicle, and the design not that much. A little bit like you have a little bit more like of a honeycomb kind of grill that's pretty nice. A nice vertical reflector in the back that's like race car inspired. I think it's pretty cool. So nothing too crazy on the design. A bunch of course, like package, like it's a very high end car that you can option from like $120,000 all the way to like almost 200,000, I guess. So
Wow.
there's a lot of options you can put on it, but 12% more energy in the battery pack, so more energy capacity, and they still managed to reduce the weight by 25%, 25 pounds. So like slightly smaller, less weight, more capacity, a little bit more range, nothing too crazy, but more power to 912 horsepower. I don't know. I've hit. I think that falls into driving impression. But yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more to say about them, and like they have a new crazy suspension system, active suspension that's super quick, that you can do a lot of very interesting thing with. That I'm gonna discuss next week when I can talk about it.
Nice. You
But
should
we
send
have
some
plenty of.
pictures of. I was gonna say you should send some pictures over to Aaron to throw on the social media, some teasers.
Yeah. I got a bunch of pictures and I got some videos of me driving the. We went on the racetrack with it, so we got some good footage of me driving it and whatnot. Yeah, we have plenty to talk about though this week. We're gonna talk about the new auto tariffs that were announced this week, but we're gonna try to explain them the best we can, but it's kind of confusing and it's also very fluid, as you can imagine, as all the tariffs have been for the last few months since Trump took office. So we're gonna try to unpackage the whole thing. We're going to talk a little bit about Tesla, which is going to be in the crosshairs of those tariffs and the retaliatory tariffs that are going to come after. We have first official images of the new Nissan Leaf that are going to be interesting to talk about, and a bunch of new cars, especially I think from BYD that I put in there. Yeah, we have two. We have the GMC Sierra EV 2026 that comes with a new entry level packages that are interesting, and two new BYD's EV from both sides of the spectrum, a new top of the line BYD and a new bottom of the entry level BYD that we're gonna get into. That probably gonna shake the market in China. That's probably the fastest evolving EV market out there. But yeah, earlier this week, Trump announced that an update on the tariffs. So the tariffs have been delayed for a month since early March. They were supposed to come into effect next week, April 2nd. She's probably April 3rd. End of the day, April 2nd, basically. And, he's been talking about 25% tariffs on all cars, all auto parts coming from Canada and Mexico. And now, over the last few weeks, he's been hinting at maybe there's going to be some exemption, maybe there's going to be not on parts and all that. Now, it was announced this week. It was, as usual with the Trump administration, it was a complete mess of an announcement. Like there was very little detail at first. The details started trickling in over time. But at first, basically, Trump announced 25% tariffs on all car imports. So all cars that are not assembled in the US get a 25% tariff. So that, a lot of them are assembled in Mexico. Some of them are imported in Canada, not a massive amount. There's a lot of cars coming from Europe, from the automakers there, from Volkswagen, the group, and BMW, and all that. There's the Koreans that are shipping us a lot of cars in the US. So all of those would be slapped with a 25% tariffs. And then he started opening up like, oh, in terms of car parts, at first it was like everything that's under the free trade agreement between Mexico and Canada would be sort of exempt, or at least for now. So for a month, those are exempt. Now there's still the tariffs on the car parts coming from China. That's already in place. That's done, and from other countries also. But from when it comes to Mexico and Canada, which the entire supply chain, the entire auto industry in North America, with the free trade agreement that Trump signed, was it 2020, 2018, 2020 when he was last in power? It simplified a lot of things because there's a lot. You can have a subsystem that ends up in a car assembled in the U.S. that crosses border Canada, Mexico several times before ending up in a car. So these things get pretty complicated, and that simplified the whole thing. Now, for now, it's only a 25% on the vehicle that are not assembled. And next month, May 3rd, and that's the weird thing here, all the parts that are currently exempt through the free trade agreement between the US, Canada, and Mexico are gonna get slapped with the tariff, although they plan to figure out by then, which is probably impossible within a month, the percentage of the parts that are made in the US in each of those subsystems, so that would be exempt from the tariffs. It's an idea, I guess, but I doubt that this will be implemented. It's going to be super complicated to figure all that out within a month. The other thing that we're hearing too, so again, this is a few days away, but it's changing already. Like Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada talked to Trump apparently yesterday, and the Premier of Ontario, where a lot of auto manufacturing and part manufacturing is done in Canada, also talked to the U.S. Commerce Secretary. And now what we're hearing is that there might be some exemption on this. It might be a full exemption on the 25% tariffs on cars produced in Canada if 50% of the parts come from the U.S., which already some vehicles probably would fit that description. And then they would be probably, even if that's not true, it would be a 12.5% tariffs versus 25 potentially. So again, the entire situation completely stupid, also completely fluid, could change at any time because nothing that Trump has really said about the tariffs really came true other than like the steel and aluminum tariffs, which are also already in place in Canada and will increase the cost of all vehicles soon because a lot of vehicles in the US do use steel, Canadian steel and aluminum. Again, the Chinese parts tariffs are on, so that will increase costs also. And now all of those vehicles, again, maybe except from Canada, will. So I put a list together here. If you are interested, you can go to the article that I did on the Trump tariffs, where I put in there in light also all EVs available in the US come from. And you can see from the list where they're being made. So if they're going to be slapped with that 25% tariffs. So you can see all of Audi's vehicles are built in Germany. Most of BMW's EVs are also built in Germany. So those will be slapped with tariffs. GM should be fine with the Cadillac brand. For the Cadillac brands, they're made in Tennessee and Michigan, so you're good. But then you have the Blazer EV, you have the Equinox EV, that both are made in Mexico. Then you have and also when I say like the Cadillac are good, they're just good from the 25% tariffs. They're also probably going to have to increase in price on the parts tariffs, and if they go in place. Then the Silverado is good. The F-150 is good. Mustang Mach-E is built in Mexico, so that's going to hurt. You have the Genesis EV, the G80 is good because no, it's not good because it's from Korea, but the G70 is built in Alabama, so it's good. So you have a bunch of situations like that. The GV60 also Korea. The Hummers and the Sierra EV are good because they're in the US. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but you can see that if there's a particular EV you're interested in, it's a useful thing to look at, because obviously it's going to have a big effect on the price. The Polestars are interesting, for example, because Polestar, I mean, they have set up their plan now in South Carolina for the Polestar 3, so they're going to be okay with that. But they were hoping that, oh, we're going to be able to deliver the Polestar 4 in the US, even though we won't get the tax credit on it. We're going to produce it out of South Korea instead of China, and that will allow us to enter the US market. Well, now you're going to be slapped with the 25% tariffs. But I'm sure that I just discussed what's happening with the Canadian. I'm sure that the same thing is happening with South Korea also. So all of that will be changing, will be moving. It's a very fluid, very weird situation. And what's up interesting is to look at it through from the highs of Tesla, because Trump was asked if Elon advised on the tariffs, and Trump, is very, very by the book, and he said no, of course not, because it would be a conflict of interest. So Elon didn't.
Yeah,
advise
they're
him on
really
it.
afraid of conflict of interest. That's their number one concern.
Yeah, top priority in the White House right now. I mean, Trump literally just pardoned Trevor Milton, the
Funny.
CEO, the founder of Nikola, after he gave him like 1.8 million between him and his wife
That's
to
all
a
a pardon
PAC
costs. I feel like that's a good 1.8 million. That's a great deal on a pardon.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, like fraud is basically legal,
Right.
as long as you defraud the people enough to make enough money to give a few million to Trump's campaign, then you're
Right.
good. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Very late stage capitalist concept.
Very late stage.
but yeah, so Tesla was in the crosshair of this whole thing. Like a lot of people, a lot of the media and a lot of the shareholders declared Tesla the big winner of these tariffs, because all of Tesla's vehicle that they deliver in the US are built in the US. But there's more to it, and even Elon was the first to admit it. Like Sawyer Merritt was basically like the chief propagandist at Tesla these days on X. Was like pointed it out, like how good this is going to be for Tesla, and Elon had to reply, important to know that Tesla is not unscathed here. The tariffs impact on Tesla is still significant. Of course it is, because Tesla use decent amount of parts from China. That's going to go up in price. They use steel and aluminum from Canada, going up in price. And then there's 20 to 25% on all vehicles produced in the US have parts from Mexico. Now we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. If Mexico's going to get a similar deal as Canada is supposedly going to get, it's unclear. But that they have another month to figure out, apparently. But like I said, we don't know exactly. Then Tesla gets a lot of its manufacturing machinery from Canada also, so that's also bad. But I think the other thing that's going to be pretty bad for Tesla here, it's what Tesla already warned the U.S. government about, is retaliatory tariffs being targeted specifically at Tesla. So Tesla is basically becoming a political pawn at this point, because we have to keep in mind that people always like to get a little bit, touchy about that, especially Tesla shareholders, because they feel personally attacked. They're like, a bunch of people like attack Tesla directly to get to Elon Musk. But let's start with the fact that what Trump is doing right now is unprecedented. He's breaking free trade agreements under dubious reason.
Some of
like
the
in
ones
Canada, for
that he actually installed too.
that he signed just a few years ago, and then he goes around and says, "We negotiated this." It's like, it's kind of you and your people. So it makes sense. Like a lot of countries are panicking, including our leaders in Canada right now. They're like, "What do we do now?" And it makes sense to go after the company that kind of financed Trump's election, and that's Tesla. Elon sold a bunch of Tesla stocks and financed Trump's election win. So a lot of people are turning to Tesla right now. So in the UK, for example, the UK is also like all the British automaker. I don't think a single British automaker has assembly in the US. So all the British cars that are sold in the US are made in in the UK, or they have assemblies in Europe also. But so now the UK government is negotiating with the US to get an exemption on there too. And Rachel Reeves, the UK finance minister, said that they're still hoping for something within the next few days, but they are sort of introducing Tesla into the negotiation, because she said, we are looking at the zero emission vehicle mandate, which is why some of that money goes to Tesla, and looking at how we can better support the car manufacturing industry in the UK. So basically, the UK has slashed, to be fair, its electric vehicle incentive quite a bit, but they still have some. They have exemption on paying both the first year and standard rate annual vehicle tax, so that's significant. And they also cover up to 75% of the cost of charging stations, so that's also like a good amount. So basically, she's saying like, hey, if you guys go with that, we might think about removing Tesla, or maybe removing every automaker from that US automaker from that program. And we're seeing Canada, although Canada did it before the tariffs officially came in place, though they were already threatened. But Canada went even further this week. But there's two aspects to this. So we already discussed this suspicious $43 million in rebate that Tesla filed for in Canada in January. So basically, to make a short story, Canada, the federal government has a $5,000 incentive on the purchase of a vehicle, was running out of money from the program, so announced to automakers and dealership that they're going to pause the program in mid-January. Within, like, I think they gave like a 3 or 4 days notice, something like that, to the dealership. So that obviously also gave a boost to people like try to get their car delivered in time. And Tesla filed for. They basically claimed that they delivered over 8,000 vehicles in that single weekend when the program ended, for a total of $43 million in rebates, and that was from just 4 locations in Canada. And it's physically impossible to do that. Like, there's no manpower, there's no capacity to deliver that many vehicles. So the presumption here is that Tesla pre-filed a bunch of rebates, and figured out, we'll figure it out later, how many we delivered and whatnot. But the thing is that froze a bunch of funds that other dealership, non-Tesla dealership, that actually delivered the cars in time to the customers and gave them the $5,000 credit. And then the dealers then have to go to government and it's like, all right, give me my $5,000 back that I gave to the customer. There's I think a couple thousand of deliveries like that the dealers are not getting paid because Tesla just took all the money from it, from their pre-filings. So the Canadian government is still trying to figure that out, what happened exactly. So they froze the funds that they haven't delivered to Tesla yet, because it doesn't make sense. And partly because of that, but it sounds like it's mostly because of the tariffs. The new transport minister, Chrystia Freeland, announced that Tesla will be banned from. The program is paused right now, but it's expected to come back. Will be banned from the future program of incentive in Canada. So Tesla is very much in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Oh, that's not great for them.
Yeah, no. I mean, Canada is not a huge market, obviously, but it's a decent one, especially when we have the incentives. And if they're expected to come back, it's going to hurt Tesla for sure. Speaking of hurting Tesla, in the US, Tesla's home market, and the US is Tesla's most important market too. Sometimes it does deliver more cars in China, but they don't make any money delivering cars in China right now. Tesla has such EV competition in China and has to reduce prices so much and has to offer financing incentive that, if they make a gross margin on the vehicles, like it's very low single digits. And some believe that it's even like no money that they make on cars in China. So the US is where they actually like can make a few bucks per cars delivered. But we are trying to figure out exactly what kind of brand damage Tesla has in the US right now. And YouGov and Yahoo News ordered a survey. They surveyed 1,700 US adults between March 20th and March 24th. And let me preface this. I put it at the end of the article. Probably I should have put it at the beginning of the article, because already I saw on X, like, everyone is challenging. It's the bunch of biased liberals that they surveyed. Most people surveyed here are moderate towards conservative. You see here, like, only 10% liberal, 16%, 10% very liberal, 16% liberal, 33% moderate, 20% conservative, 9% very conservative, and a 12% not sure. In terms of political affiliation, 30% Democrat, 32% Republican, 27% independent. So very diverse, leaning toward the right survey here. And here are the results, very interesting results. So the more actionable question was, would you consider owning or leasing a Tesla in the future? 18% said yes, 67% said no. We're just talking about considering here. Not sure, 13%. Already own or lease a Tesla, 2% in those 1,700. So not a great look for Tesla. And then when you ask them why, most people that did answer no said partly or fully because of Elon. 27 only 27 said it's like nothing to do with Elon, so that they just like wouldn't buy a Tesla for whatever reason. Like some people see Tesla as like having qualities issue, or maybe they don't want to buy an EV. I don't know. Then the survey also looked at Musk and Tesla's favorability within the sample size, and Elon is not doing great. 39% only favorable versus 55 unfavorable. So, and that just a few months ago, just before the election, it was the opposite of that. So it was actually a little bit more people were favorable than not. And Tesla is also tracking fairly closely to the result with Musk. So it looks like Elon is sort of dragging down Tesla's brand with 37% favorable and 49% unfavorable, with more undecided people than with Elon. So Elon is more polarizing than Tesla. So yeah, this is just not a good look for Tesla in the US. And then the last thing we talk about for regarding Tesla is the delivery consensus that was released today. So next week we're gonna have the delivery result, production and delivery result for Tesla, probably April 2nd, around market open. But before that, Tesla's investor relation department released a company compile consensus of what people think the deliveries are gonna end up at. So this quarter, they surveyed their 27 analysts, and the delivery consensus is 377,000 deliveries, which would be Tesla's worst performance since Q3 2022. So we have to go back almost 3 years, over 2 years, to get the delivery result like that. Of course, a lot of people are blaming the Model Y changeover, but also there was the Model 3 changeover last year, and Tesla did a lot better than this. And also there's other issues. We've seen Model 3 sales being down 30% in Europe. And also that 377,000 is like it's the compile consensus now, but it doesn't mean Tesla's going to hit that either, because some analysts sees Tesla like 15,000-20,000 units beyond under that, because the analyst consensus actually started this quarter at 450,000 deliveries. And we already knew about the Model Y changeover by then. Like we knew it was happening. And that's what people thought Tesla was delivering. And it just went down and down and down all the way through the quarter to end now at 377,000, almost 75,000 units below what it was just a few months ago, just 2 months ago. But I think a lot of that is what happened since January 28th and Elon's Doge effort and all that put a lot of strain on people and a lot of brand destruction. But they also updated the 2025 consensus at 1.85 million, which I also think is pretty high. It went down. It went down basically by the amount of people adjusting their consensus for the first quarter. But I would assume that after the actual result next week, that number will also go down, because people are going to have to readjust. It's probably assuming that this is going to grow in 2025 after being down 30,000 units, which was Q1 of last year. It's going to be hard. All right, moving on from Tesla, we have plenty of interesting news, but I want to remind you that we are live and we take questions. So if you guys have a question, you can put them in the comment section right now. We would appreciate if we would start with question, dash, whatever, and then ask your questions so that we don't have to go through the dialogue going between you guys in the comments, which you're welcome to do, by the way. And we're gonna get to that in just a few minutes. And if you do enjoy the Electrek podcast, we appreciate if you give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is on your app. It's free to do, takes a second, and it helps more than you think. So we appreciate when you do it. And if you're listening on your podcast app right now, if you can give us a 5-star rating, only if you think we deserved it, of course, that helps a ton too, because we get hit with 1-star rating every week by people that think we are Tesla haters, even though we are not Tesla haters. We just hate seeing Tesla's brand getting destroyed by an egomaniac. All right, let's talk about the GMC Sierra EV. They came out strong this week. So it's the 2026. We don't have all the details yet. We don't have all the range specs and all that, but they basically announced the new trims for 2026 GMC Sierra EV pickup. That do you have it now? By the way, are you supposed to have?
It's right
the
outside.
Denali, though. Do you have the
Denali? Yeah, the high end one.
Yeah. Okay, so you have the top of the line. So they started out with their bigger battery pack, bigger trim, and all that. But this summer with the 2026 version, apparently they're going to release the 2026 pretty early. They are introducing a bunch of new trims, especially the AT4 and the Elevate. I'm pretty sure those already exist within the GMC lineup and everything. I just, this is their first electric vehicles. So we're not that familiar with them. But the AT4 trim is a on and off-road adventure vehicle. It's a 2 inches higher ground clearance with lifted coil suspension, 35-inch all-terrain tires, and it starts at $81,400. It comes with the crab walk, with the GM Super Cruise, an exclusive interior color, 12,300 pounds of towing capacity, multiple.
By the way, Super Cruise on the Sierra, it's pretty nice. It changes lanes. It's not like I was kind of surprised. I mean, the one thing that it doesn't do great is that you have the Google Maps, because GM is like, we're doing Google, and you're navigating, and the Super Cruise and the Google Maps don't talk to each other very well. So Google might be saying, make a right here, and right at the fork, and Super Cruise is just like, didn't hear that. I'm going straight.
So it stays in the left lane. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so they haven't integrated well. But one of the things I like the most about it is the heads-up display. It's so good.
Man, a good heads-up display is really nice. Like the same thing with the, I don't know if I could. Well, I mean, it's the same one that I have in the other Audi anyway. But the Audi's has a great one, and most of them are very nice these days. Like Tesla, that's another thing that Tesla didn't introduce just because, self-driving is coming, so you won't need it. It's like, man, it's such a nice feature.
Yeah,
and they're getting pretty the competition in China also, like they all have that, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Tesla in China. Then you have the Elevation standard range trim that's going to start at $65,000. So that's going to start going after the cheaper Silverado, cheaper Lightning, and whenever the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck comes out later this year, it's going to be a very similar price range. And that also has the multi-pro tailgate. Okay, oh no, not the mid-gate. The AT4 is the one that gets the mid-gate, and then you get the multi-pro tailgate for the base version. And this one has 18-inch machine face wheels. And then you can add options like the Super Cruise and the mid-gate and all that. And you get the the AT4 gets 350 kilowatt charging, while 300, which is still not bad for the base version. So yeah, you have all the pricing here. So the Elevation with the standard range, 65,000, extended range, basically 73,000, and then the AT4 standard range, 81,400, 91 if you're on the extended range, and then you have the Denali that Seth is testing out right now. That starts pretty low at 72, but that's the standard range battery again. And then you have the extended range at 80, and then the max range, which get how much miles you have on that thing, Seth?
475 miles. It's insane.
It's insane
for a pickup.
100, but it starts at $100,000. So obviously, more expensive. So we don't have all the range figures for all these different versions. Again, the standard range and extended range. So it's gonna be less than 475 miles. So like the extended range could still be like pretty good. Could still be like 380, 400 miles, something like that. While the standard range, I would assume that they're gonna aim for low 300, high 200, something like that. But it's probably going to be very competitive at like 65,000 for the elevation and 84 being 82,000.
Yeah, I mean it's a great vehicle, and that max range you can obviously tow for hundreds of miles, and also like it's got the 240 out at 30 amps, so you can power your house for weeks, maybe months. It's a huge battery.
Oh yeah, it's massive. All right, BYD. So BYD unveiled 2 new vehicles this week. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Qin L EV. That's the low-end vehicle. It's going after the Model 3 and the Xiaomi SU7. So it's very similar in size as those 2 vehicles, same segment. They're just going to try to destroy them at the low end of the market. So both the Model 3 and the Xiaomi is a little bit more expensive, but the Xiaomi is a little bit less expensive than the Model 3. This one is starting at 120,000 yen. That's basically $16,500. That's for the base version, and you can get it up all the way to 32,500. No, excuse me. The Model 3 start at 32. It's basically half the price of a Model 3, but the same size, and you can upgrade it up to basically $20,000. You see the image right here. It's a good-looking car for less than $20,000 car fully equipped. 2 battery pack size. They're both using BYD's Blade LFP cells, which is the same cells I think that Tesla use in the base Model Y in Germany, that they built in Germany, I think. But they are configured here at 46 and 56 kilowatt hour for 470 kilometers, 292 miles of range, 455 kilometers, 238 miles of range. CLTC range, so you can assume like it's closer probably to like 250 and 300, but still you can get a 300 mile vehicles for less, the equivalent of $20,000 there, because and you also get the smart level 2, just like their BYD's equivalent of FSD in there. It's available for, I think it's included even. And then that's what we were talking about here in terms of option. Like it's impressive. They have the 15.6 floating infotainment system that you can see here in the middle, very similar to Tesla's system. Then you also have a 12-inch wide heads-up display system on top of an 8.8-inch driver display system. So you have your instrument cluster, your heads-up display, plus a large 15-inch screen. And you have a mini fridge built in the back. That's Xiaomi important. Also has that. I think that's to compete with the Xiaomi a little bit. And yeah, 5 radars, 12 ultrasonic sensors, 12 cameras. That powers the God's Eye system, level 2 driving system that BYD has. So very impressive new entry for BYD at the lower end. In China, though I would assume that they would eventually try to bring that to other market too, because it is like one of the Qin lineup is one of the most complete one in terms of features. And then at the high end of the market, on the Yangwang, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Yangwang is the top of the line brand from BYD. They unveiled the new U7, which looks to be a kind of competitor to Xiaomi's SU7 Ultra. So it's another like crazy horsepower, 1,300 horsepower in that thing. It's crazy. And it starts at under $90,000.
Crazy.
So it's not as crazy as the Xiaomi Ultra that starts at $70,000 for 1,500 horsepower, but still, it's insane.
I wonder if people are going to try to import those like they import, luxury vehicles.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look at that thing. You have So yeah, basically 1,300 horsepower, 960 kilowatts. 0 to
Crazy.
60 in 2.9 0 to 62 in 2.9 seconds. So that's 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. So you're getting very low 2 seconds there. So not as crazy as like the S27 Ultra or even the Model S Plaid, but still pretty crazy. Size wise, 5,000 millimeters long, 2,000 millimeters wide. It has the top of the line Godai A system, which has like the equivalent of Navigate on autopilot, like Tesla has, a bunch of ADS features, 135.5 kilowatt hour BYD blade system, battery system for up to 447 miles of range. So that's very good, because I think the Ultra has lower range than that, because the Ultra they went more with the performance rather than the range. So this one you still get crazy performance and also very good range. 500 kilowatt charging. Very impressive stuff. You cannot. Let me just zoom in on the pictures there. You have the interior is offered in like a 4-seater configuration, like you see here, or a 5-seater configuration. Oh, we have a passenger display in the front too. Very extensive instrument cluster.
Rear
I
window
would assume
cameras
no.
instead of the rear view
But
mirrors.
you also have mirrors, though. I think. Yeah,
Uh,
you also have the mirrors. They have DeepSeek AI integration. You remember DeepSeek? It's like the
DeepSeek, nice.
China's
That was
OpenAI
quick.
equivalent. Yep. Yeah, it's getting into like DeepSeek, like getting into cars, getting into robots already. Like they're not kidding around. Yeah, very impressive stuff from BYD here. Like it's crazy that they can do that, and they can also do like that $16,000 Quinlan. All right, last thing we're going to discuss before we jump into the comment section is the Nissan Leaf that's coming up later this year. It's making its comeback as a completely different vehicle. So that's something I've been hinting about for a while, because if you remember, said a year and a half ago,
Yep.
2 years ago, whatever, Nissan brought me to Japan, and they showed me their entire lineup of electric vehicles coming and everything, but they had me like sign an NDA and everything. I couldn't even talk about it. I'm like, they showed me like 6 different EVs that were supposed to come in the next few years. None of them have come yet. But the Nissan Leaf was on them. Like they showed me Nissan Leaf, and I'm like, this is not a Leaf. This is like a nice little crossover SUV type of thing. And now they finally unveiled it. A lot of people are making comparison. Like this is basically an Aria, and
Yeah.
fair comparison, I think. Still a concept vehicle that we're seeing here, and just a few angles. So you have this front end here, which I like. It's kind of like a bird spreading its wing kind of type of front end with the headlights. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it's a good take on the light bar, because everyone is doing a light bar right now. Uh, so I think this is at least be a little bit more creative with it, and I think they did that. You have a little bit of more of a side angle here. You can see it's very much a crossover, small SUV type thing. This was a prototype that was spotted earlier this year. So you can see it's still quite low. So it's still kind of more leaf-like than the Aria, where you're going to be sitting a little bit higher. The other side here, again, not a crazy angle. But yeah, this thing is supposed to come later this year. We're going to have a full unveil, all the specs. I think what I see it is like, I know people a lot are comparing it to the Aria, but I think the Aria might be a little bit too pricey for a lot of people. So uh, I think Nissan is not too worried about bringing a vehicle close in form factor, since they figure it's going to be probably lower end than the Aria is. I think that's the thinking there.
It would be nice to see some more form factors though from Nissan, especially like truck, pickup, SUV.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see a lot of things from Nissan. They're supposed to be a leader in EVs. They had the Leaf in 2010, and then the
That's
Aria
it.
in like 2021 or whatever. It made no sense. All right, let's jump into the comment section.
All right. Speculor says, question, what other Hyundai Kia EVs will they build in Georgia? And then a follow-on question, will Nissan build a new Leaf in Smyrna, Tennessee? I think
So Hyundai Kia, you have the EV9 that's produced in Georgia. the Ioniq 9 is coming, and you have the Ioniq 5. So basically, the Ioniq 6, I think, is the one that's going to be increasing prices a lot. And Kia, the EV6 is not produced in the US either, I think, right? I think that's coming from Korea. Yeah. So that's a bummer because I think the EV6 is a really nice car too, so it's going to be a lot more expensive.
And the
Leaf in Tennessee, that I don't know. That's a good question. I would assume so. If they want to launch it in the US now, it's gonna.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
Lucid is offering a 4K discount to Tesla owners who traded in for the Air. I think that's quite a bit less than the Polestar. They were
Polestar. Polestar 3 is like $20,000.
20,000, yeah.
Yeah, they're going pretty aggressive.
All right. When did Donald Trump become concerned about fentanyl? Maybe we should remind him his key advisor is ODing on ketamine. There's no way for Canada to fix a problem that doesn't exist. I think we're talking about the Canada tariffs. That was
I think it's like purely a technicality at this point, the whole fentanyl thing at the border. Like everyone knows that it's not true, and that Trump is just using that as an excuse to have the executive power to enforce to break the free trade agreement. But it's just like us as Canadian, we cannot do anything about it. So it's like you guys could like be mad at your president lying to implement a policy, but I think we're way past that at this point. I think most American are like they know it's happening like with every other policy. I've seen here in Las Vegas. I've seen billboards paid by Canadian government that basically like trash the tariffs. They're like tariffs is a tax on your grocery, like some things like that. So it looks like the U.S. government, the Canadian government, is trying to fight back directly with the U.S. voters. Don't know how much this will work, but
I don't know if Vegas is the place for that. Anyway, whatever. Skeptic says, I think the U.S. is about to enter the find out phase of the F around and find out with its extreme protectionist nonsense. That would be nice.
Fair.
Yeah. Jamie, our colleague, says 1.8 million. I think we're talking about Trevor here. 1.8 million to avoid 675 million in restitution. Amazing return on investment.
That was the restitution? I thought it was like less than 200 million that he owed or something. But still, either way, it's pretty good.
I feel like that's the first good investment Trevor's made. And Trump. All right. Anderson 999. LOL, love the stream title, but hope MAGA crazies don't come for Electrek for speaking out against the dear leader. We'll just move to Canada.
That's already the case all the time. Yeah, and are coming for us. I don't know what you mean by coming, but they've been like we've been feeling the hate. That's for sure.
Yeah. Question: are Canadian Tesla dealers completely Tesla owned? Something I read implied those Canadian incentive cheaters included privately owned Tesla dealerships. I don't think there's privately owned.
No, that's not the case.
What people who support the tariffs don't understand is 20% is the cost at port. It's going to change hands, and every time it increases, that cost also applies to the original 20% added. It makes the whole supply chain more expensive.
Something that people. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what was the second point. Yeah, it makes the whole. Yeah, it's like a good example would be like the Mustang Mach-E, for example. Okay, the Mustang Mach-E is built in Mexico, but the battery pack is built in the U.S. So you have like it creates job in the U.S. building the battery pack and everything, and then it has to ship it out to Mexico, and then Ford assembles it in Mexico, ships it into the U.S. for the most part. Like in North America, like the Mach-E is mostly sold in the U.S. So now what could happen at this point is, because mind you, like right now we're just talking about the crazy, stupid Trump tariffs, the U.S. for things coming into the U.S. But now the other side of the coin is the retaliatory tariffs that are going to come from all these other countries that were smacked with the tariffs. So you could see like Mexico, all right, let's put a 25% tariffs on that battery pack. So now Ford's gonna have to pay like 25% on that battery coming into Mexico, and then ship that car back to the US, getting a 25% there. Like none of this makes sense. That's why you had free trade agreements to make it all make sense and make everyone a winner with assembly of vehicles, with parts of vehicle, with raw material production, which Canada's was its strength because we have a lot of metals. But he threw all of that through the window. And even though what's most likely to happen, tell you, is that he's going to walk back most of it, if not all of it, and all these fans are going to say, like, that's what's funny, is like when he says tariffs, his fans are like, yeah. When he says no tariffs, his fans are like, yeah. It's like there's no, it's like, all right, what's the actual policy here that you're encouraging? Like, are you voting for a policy, or you're just voting for like a schizophrenic leader that's just changed his opinion with it's not, I was going to say with the wind, but it's mostly with bribes and whatnot.
All right, we have one dissenter. Wolf Rosh says this will likely save the U.S. car industry, which was doing well already. So I don't know if it's going to save it. Calling it dumb, yet not giving any evidence of why, just shows you're clowns. Spelling errors.
No, I mean, that guy's not listening at all. We gave plenty of evidence of why.
All right.
Question. I should clarify though the real why. The real why is that this will increase the cost of all cars sold in the U.S. Okay, regardless of who produces it, it's going to increase it. And when you increase the price of a product, you reduce its market. Fewer people are able to afford it. Fewer people are going to be able to buy it. That's as simple as that. It's like it's economics 101. So,
yeah. All right, Carl says, question, the Rivian micromobility spinoff startup acknowledgement that was called also, that Rivian sees a serious issue with their long-term sustainability viability. I suspect 39 tons of CO2 to build the R1T shocked them. I don't think they care about that, to be honest with you. I think they're just trying to keep their eyes on the prize.
You guys talked about that on the Wheelie podcast?
Not yet. We haven't. I mean, it's pretty new news, but yeah, it's something.
Talk about on the next one.
Yeah. All right, moving along. OG Kodak says, if most car prices go up due to tariffs, does that make Tesla pricing almost competitive?
No, but Tesla's prices are going to go up too. That's the thing.
Yeah, and they were already competitive price-wise. Yeah. Let's see. We're moving on. A lot of conversation this time. All right, Mike the Car Geek says, what is your opinion of Elon? Fave, unfave, somewhat, very? I think he's ventured into the unfave territory recently. Yep. So
yeah, I don't like. He still does a few things that I agree with and everything, but for the most part, I think he lost the plot, and he's not doing himself or anyone any favors, other than, we just learned today that his Doge team is now slashing around in the SEC. So to me, it's pretty clear what he's doing in the government right now. He's just, he's cutting down all the agencies that were putting pressure on him, which he built, which in his heart, I'm sure, like, I don't think anyone is really truly evil. I think everyone has like good intention. They just place it, they just frame it in a certain way that justify their action. So I'm sure that in his mind is like, all these people are coming after me for the wrong reasons and all that. They're not. It's not fair. That's a word that he likes to say. Well, that's not fair. You're the richest man on earth, and you're like, oh, life is not fair. Like, come on. So now he's making sure that these agencies are not going to affect his business at all. I think the people is stronger than the agencies, though. I think the brand damage is bigger.
A clarification, the EV6 in 2025 is U.S. built. So previous EV6s, no.
Oh, yeah.
2025, yes. That's good. And then the new Chevy Bolt will be U.S. built. On Wednesday, somebody on Red said, we're retooling the plant now to start building the Bolt in the early fall. We'll probably have a few built for crash test purposes in July.
Nice.
That'll be good to see. The old Bolt was built at... Yeah, the old Bolt was U.S. built, so it would be weird if they moved it offshore.
Yeah, we should start to see some pretty soon. I would assume when I see the new version.
Yeah, look forward to that.
And this weekend, apparently, I'm going to be tracking that closely. I'm pretty busy now in Vegas for this weekend, but tomorrow the Tesla takedown movement is announcing like their biggest protests ever. There's supposed to be like 200 protests in the US, 500 globally. Like
Wow.
they're ramping things up. It's supposed to be like a big day, so we're going to be tracking down, see how that goes. We hope that if anyone listening to us plan to participate in those things, that you do it peacefully. Any violence is not good for the movement, I think, and just make your voice heard, and let's hope for the best. All right, that's it for the Electrek podcast this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a like, a thumbs up, and we're gonna see you same place, same time next week.